16 by 9, the bigger picture.
A year has passed, the tragedy hasn't. No politicians or celebrities, we speak to the people in the streets, the alleys, the camps, in the clinics and the orphanages. How are Haitians coping?
It's the things that you see that scare you. It's like, what happened?
People die in cholera, misery, people killing people for food. We live in just like animals, you know?
I don't see anybody doing anything about it.
That's all coming up on 16 by 9. Here's Mary Garofalo.
Good evening and welcome to 16 by 9, the bigger picture. 1 year after the earthquake that shook the country, Haiti is still buried in rubble and grief. And while Haitians struggle to rebuild their homes and lives, only a trickle of the millions raised is reaching the people who need it most. Tonight, Mike Armstrong goes to the streets of Haiti to talk to survivors who are still digging out.
There's a word you hear in this city too often. It describes how people live in Port-au-Prince, the day-to-day struggle, travel around, talk to people, and it comes up at some point in just about every conversation. Misère, misery.
We have to go right there.
This is Carlos Jean-Charles, and this is home. He's lived here since the earthquake.
But this camp, we have 2,800 people.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of people, but living in corruption. Nobody have a job. No one have a job in this camp, you know? Yeah, no one have a job.
There are no official statistics, but the unemployment rate's about 80% in Haiti. There are more than 1,000 camps like this one, and a year after the quake, nearly 1 million people in them.
11 months I've been living in misery, you know? In misery. That's my house right there. That's my wife, yeah.
Jean-Charles and his wife sent their 3 daughters to family out of the city, but still share a small shanty with another family. So 2 people there?
Yeah, and 3 people here and then 2 people here, you know. That's how it's super, yeah.
They struggle every day for even water and food. There's violence and prostitution, and then there's disease.
2 people die in cholera in this little house.
Right here?
2. The husband and the wife die in cholera.
Jean-Charles says every day in the camp is worse than the day before. Some things get better, there are toilets now, but overall, it's misère, he says, misery.
I see my kids, I can give them food, you know. I'm going crazy, I think, you know, to kill somebody. Man, it's hard to live without food, without money, man. No job in this country, man.
Across the street from the camp is the National Palace, once a symbol of pride. There's a ceremony each day here. A year ago, Haitians would have stopped and raised a hand in salute. Not anymore. Things have changed. And this is when it happened. These are surveillance cameras inside the palace as the quake hit at 4:53 p.m. January 12th. At exactly this moment, buildings were collapsing all over the city. 188,000 houses were badly damaged or destroyed. 300,000 people were injured, and 222,000 people were killed. A year later, there are almost no signs of anything being rebuilt. Where there was rubble on January 12th of last year, there will be rubble on January 12th of this year, likely with people combing through it, looking for whatever they can sell. This man says he's done this almost every day since the quake, collecting and cleaning bricks. A good one can get him 2 Haitian gourds, he says, about 5 cents Canadian. Most of the streets have been cleared of rubble, but there are new piles. People clearing lots pile up debris, hoping someone takes it away eventually. This isn't organized. There are bodies still in this home, somewhere under the feet of the crew. The work isn't done with heavy machinery. Tractors are one of the many things Haiti has in short supply. The work is done by hand and slowly. When the rubble is cleared away, it ends up in a place like this, landfill pushed out into the ocean, again with men combing through it. With the desperation here, there's also fear. Cholera has made hundreds of thousands sick and killed more than 3,300 people. And disease spread in contaminated water. This is an ideal breeding ground. There have been reports the strain was brought to Haiti by UN peacekeepers, one of the reasons for the anti-UN graffiti. Mélan Lalune says everyone's scared. His little brother was in hospital, but even when he recovered, no one would go near him. They would say, "Cholera, cholera," and shoo him away, he says. And it hurt. In the hills above Port-au-Prince is the Hotel Montana, or what's left. Officially, 58 Canadians were killed in the earthquake, about a dozen of them right here.
It's not ideal in terms of space and accessibility, but we're doing the best we can with what we have.
A little further on, Broken Wings, an orphanage home to 37 kids with serious mental and physical disabilities. Broken Wings was founded by a Canadian. The last year has been rough. They lost their building in the quake and they're burning through cash renting 2 homes. They're also fundraising to rebuild, but they're doing it on their own.
Not to put down any of the national organizations, they're doing great jobs with other populations of people, but we don't see that. We don't.
It doesn't get here.
It doesn't get here. We're too small.
There are estimates that of the billions pledged around the world to help this country, only 10% has made it. Good news here is hard to find, although we spotted some from a rooftop, small homes down by the port.
Our main goal is to get the people off the street.
The Red Cross is building a neighborhood, small plywood houses. They hope to move people in by the end of the month. The problem is there are only 357. Haiti needs hundreds of thousands. How will they select the families to come to this camp?
The most vulnerable.
They're going to pick the most vulnerable?
Yes, the most vulnerable.
So
we'll have priority.
people will apply and they'll be chosen?
Exactly.
And they'll be very lucky to get this.
Well, thanks to God, I say.
This is another place where they thank God. The Palmera Market lost some walls. There was damage to the building, but it didn't collapse. Watch their security cameras, and it's hard to believe. The quake shook for 35 seconds, and somehow everyone made it out alive. But Peter Shrikey says it wasn't being trapped in his store that affected him. It was the scene outside.
When you get out and you're trying to get home and all you see around you is people carrying dead people and walking around and blood on the streets, and it's the things that you see that scare you. It's like, what happened?
The Shreikis are Syrian. They have money. It took 6 months, but they repaired the building, even expanded. But what's going on around them a year later is hard to take. Things aren't getting better, they say. They're getting worse.
If we continue like this, more people are gonna die than the people died in the earthquake.
People are nervous about that.
Yeah, and now you're in a situation that you can control. The earthquake wasn't a situation you could have controlled. But now it's a situation you could control to let people live. But I don't see anybody doing anything about it.
I want to see the future of my kids, That's what I want to see,
There's one thing most in Haiti seem to share, from the camps to the rich homes in the hills, a lack of optimism. Everyone in some way feels misé.
People die in cholera, misery, people killing people for food, little girl now use up sex for money. That's enough. We don't know what's going on in this country. We live in just like animals, We don't want to see that, We know it is a misery country, but it's enough. Man, that's enough.
Coming up on 16 by 9.
From the roof of a home, they named their friends still in the rubble. In this one spot, there are 22 people still buried.
That's all coming up. Welcome back to 16 by 9, the bigger picture.
Our Mike Armstrong was in the streets of Haiti days after the earthquake that killed more than 200,000 people and left 1 million people homeless. He returned this week to a spot he couldn't forget, and what he found was even worse.
This is a city with too many stories. Every person on every street has a tale to tell about the day Haiti shook. After the earthquake, we visited this short, unpaved, dead-end road called Un Passereau, and people shared their stories. They were impossible to forget. Around the corner, an alley overflowing with misery. Dozens and dozens of people sleeping on dirt beside a ditch full of garbage and human waste. These people had homes 2 weeks ago.
My house is break down.
Completely?
I lost my mom, I lost my little brother, I lost my little cousin,
It's all right, man.
Hey.
Almost every person in the alley wants to talk, to show how they're living so people know they need help. This woman pulls back the tarp to show me her children sleeping. I ask her how hard it must be, and she can't get the words out.
Merci.
A lot of people might come around here and see it's a joke. It's not a joke. It's life. It's really real life story. This is what we're suffering right now. In a few days from now, if it do rain, all of us right now will get sick. All of us right now.
C'est pas beau, mieux vivre ici, okay?
They have been 12 hard months for the people here. They remembered us and again had a story to tell. The tarps and cars were replaced by tents donated by NGOs. Most of the people stayed instead of moving to camps. So, serait pas mieux?
Non.
Pourquoi?
Je préfère ici.
This woman says she hasn't left because this is where she's from. These are the people she's always known. This is a community. Before the quake, they lived in homes up in the alley along a creek stacked almost on top of each other. In March, some started moving back up the hill, living in shanties and damaged buildings. It doesn't feel safe here, but this is home to 380 people. There's a constant worry about cholera. They've had 3 cases, but thankfully no deaths. These people already know death and loss too well. Walking up, it feels like visiting ancient ruins, but it was only a year ago people lived in each of these homes.
Si on monte par ici, on voit le tour avec.
Ok, nous avons André ici.
From the roof of a home, they named their friends still in the rubble. In this one spot, there are 22 people still buried.
Gladys, Marie.
Beaucoup.
We lost a lot of people, they say, a lot. Down below, there's a pile of dirt beside the creek. It's actually a mass grave. When they find remains, this is where they go. They've buried 12 friends and neighbors here so far. The tour continues. The path is tight but worn. People live here and use it often. The people here struggle for every meal. For 2 months, an NGO brought rice, but that stopped 10 months ago, and there's no work. People were paid to clear rubble. It lasted 24 days. You can see it, he says. People live in misery. We have nothing. Out of all the destruction, this seems to be the only rebuilding. Moses Jean-Robert is trying to make his home stronger this time. No one was killed in it when it collapsed, but his wife was visiting a neighbor up the hill and is still under the rubble. He says there are people with her. 8, he thinks. On the way down, we passed the mass grave. A dozen people they all knew.
Oui.
Assez triste.
Vraiment dur.
Merci.
On a mis là pour...
The last spot on the visit was a collapsed building, their one happy story. A 3-year-old girl was stuck inside after the quake.
Tu l'entendais crier pendant 3 jours.
They could hear her screaming but couldn't reach her. It took 3 days digging by hand to get her out. She's fine today.
Comment qu'elle va aujourd'hui?
Bien. Ça va bien.
Wow.
At the end, the people who showed us around asked for money, and we couldn't blame them after hearing their stories and struggles. But as we said goodbye, their last question was polite and proud and surprised me. When will we see you again?